through time to explore the original seven wonders, not just as monuments of stone and gold, but as testaments to the human obsession with immortality, power, and the divine. A world-weary, poetic soul, perhaps a historian or a traveler from antiquity. They speak with a sense of awe and melancholy, as if they have witnessed these wonders with their own eyes, only to see them fade. They said it was a list. A simple tally for travelers, a bucket list for the ancient world. A Greek named Philo of Byzantium, a man with more curiosity than coin, scribbled it down for the tired merchants and wide-eyed pilgrims who sailed the wine-dark sea. These, he whispered, these are the things you must see before the gods grow jealous and reclaim them. He was more right than he knew. For the seven wonders, they are not just wonders. They are warnings. Each one a fever dream of ambition, a love letter to the gods, a scream into the void that whispers, we were here. We begin not with a wonder, but with the absence of one. Imagine a city. The greatest of its age. Babylon. And at its heart, a garden, but not as you know it. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Picture this, a desert. A flat, sun-scorched plain where the Euphrates River moves like a sluggish serpent. Now, imagine a mountain rising from the dust. Not a mountain of rock, but of foliage. Tier upon tier of date palms, cypress, and flowering vines, stacked higher than the city walls. This was the Hanging Gardens. A green miracle born of a king's heartache. Nebuchadnezzar II, the conqueror of Jerusalem, the man who forged an empire, was brought to his knees by a single thing, the homesickness of his wife, Amytis. She was a princess from the green hills of Media, and she saw Babylon, mighty, golden Babylon, as a prison of mud and brick. So, the king defied nature. He built her a mountain. Slave-driven screws, a contraption of Archimedes' genius before Archimedes was even born, lifted water from the river day and night. It was said that from a distance, the trees seemed to hang in the air, a floating paradise. Was it real? Scholars argue. No Babylonian tablet mentions it. But perhaps, that's the point. It was built for one woman's eyes only. A gesture of such profound, private love that it was almost invisible to the public record. We remember not the gardens themselves, but the yearning that built them. Today, the desert has reclaimed the spot. All that remains is dust and the echo of a king's whispered promise. From a king's love, we move to a tyrant's ego. The statue of Zeus at Olympia. Olympia. Not a city, but a sanctuary. A place where war was forbidden, if only for a few days, so men could compete for the glory of a crown of olive leaves. But the real victor in Olympia was never a man. For 40 years, the sculptor Phidias worked on his masterpiece. He built a temple of limestone and marble, but inside, he placed a god. The statue of Zeus was not just a sculpture, it was a theophany, a manifestation of the divine. Imagine walking from the blinding Greek sun into the gloom of the temple. Your eyes adjust. And then, you see him. Zeus, the father of gods, seated on a throne of cedar wood, inlaid with ivory, gold, ebony, and jewels. He was so tall, his head nearly scraped the ceiling. If he stood, they said, he would shatter the roof. His flesh was polished ivory that seemed to glow from within. His robes were hammered gold, cascading like frozen fire. In one hand, a statue of Nike, the winged goddess of victory. In the other, a scepter crowned with an eagle, the king of birds. A Roman general, a man who had conquered nations, stood before this statue and wept. Not from piety, but from a shattering realization. He said, I have made men tremble. But I have never made them feel the presence of the divine. That was the power of Phidias's art. It was stolen, taken to Constantinople, and ultimately destroyed by fire. A god made by man, unmade by man's carelessness. But if you want to see the line between divinity and mortality blurred to nothing, you look to the coast. The Colossus of Rhodes. Rhodes. An island city-state that withstood a terrible siege. An invading army, the Antagonids, came with massive war machines and left in humiliated defeat, abandoning their equipment on the shore. The people of Rhodes, drunk on freedom and pride, did what any logical people would do: they melted down the bronze siege towers and weapons, and built a god. The Colossus was not, as myth holds, straddling the harbor. No ship sailed between his legs. He stood on a white marble pedestal at the harbor's edge, a figure of the sun god Helios, their patron. 70 cubits tall. Over 100 feet. Every finger was taller than a man. His skin was bronze, gleaming in the Mediterranean sun, a lighthouse of defiance. For 56 years, he stood. A symbol of unity and resilience. Then, an earthquake struck. The Colossus shattered at the knees. The mighty sun god lay broken in pieces on the ground. For centuries, the pieces lay where they fell. Even in ruin, he was a wonder. People traveled from across the empire just to look at his thumb, which was larger than most statues. They said you couldn't wrap your arms around his fallen finger. When the Arabs conquered Rhodes centuries later, they sold the bronze for scrap. It took a caravan of 900 camels to haul the pieces away. The silence that fell over the harbor after the last camel disappeared must have been deafening. From bronze to stone. From a god of the sun to a god of the dead. The Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. The word mausoleum comes from a king who didn't want to die. Mausolus, the satrap of Korea, planned his tomb like a general plans a campaign. He didn't want a grave, he wanted a monument that would make the world forget he was mortal. His wife, and sister, as was the custom, Artemisia, was consumed by her grief and ambition. After his death, she summoned the greatest Greek sculptors and architects to build a tomb that would hold not just his body, but his memory, forever. The result was a fusion of the world's aesthetics. A towering structure, a step pyramid, wrapped in a colonnade of Greek columns, topped with a chariot pulled by massive stone horses, carrying the effigies of Mausolus and Artemisia themselves. It was a wonder not for its scale alone, but for its beauty. The sculptures that adorned it were breathtaking. A battle of Greeks and Amazons carved in high relief, bodies twisting in agony and ecstasy, frozen in marble for eternity. Artemisia spared no expense. She even mixed the king's ashes into her wine and drank him, so that he would become part of her, a union not even death could sever. The tomb stood for 16 centuries, surviving wars and empires, until a crusader army used its stones to build a castle. They burned the marble to make lime for mortar. The mausoleum, the very definition of permanence, was pulverized to build a fort. And so we come to the one that remains. The survivor. The Great Pyramid of Giza. It was ancient when the other wonders were born. Cleopatra, that last, glittering pharaoh of Egypt, lived closer in time to the invention of the iPhone than she did to the building of this pyramid. Khufu, the pharaoh who built it, was a tyrant who forced his people into brutal labor, though the graffiti in the hidden chambers tells a different story, of workers' gangs with names like, the Drunkards of Menkor. Perhaps it was more a project of national pride than simple slavery. In 300,000 blocks of limestone, each weighing as much as a small car. A base that covers 13 acres. A structure so perfectly aligned with the cardinal points that modern engineers marvel at its precision. It was clad in polished white limestone, so smooth it would have blazed like a second sun. The capstone, now lost, was sheathed in gold. This is not a piece of that pyramid. This is a fragment from a quarry near it. A worthless chip. But it's the only wonder you can touch today. The rest are ghosts. The hanging gardens are a myth. Zeus is ash. The Colossus is melted down. The mausoleum is rubble. Artemis's temple is a marsh. But the pyramid, it endures. It has seen the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, the birth of Islam, the age of discovery. It has weathered earthquakes, grave robbers, and the idiocy of tourists carving their names into its ancient stones. It remains a stubborn, silent answer to oblivion. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. She was the goddess of the hunt, of the wild, of the untamed. But the Temple of Artemis was a place of staggering order and opulence. Built and rebuilt on a marsh to protect it from earthquakes, using charcoal and wool as a foundation, a primitive shock absorber, it was the largest Greek temple ever constructed. 127 columns, each 60 feet tall, some of them carved with reliefs and plated in gold. It was a treasury, a bank, a sanctuary, and the beating heart of Ephesus. It was so revered that the Amazons, the mythical warrior women, were said to have taken shelter there. And then, one night, a man named Herostratus decided he wanted to be famous. He set the temple ablaze. The wooden roof collapsed. The great statue of Artemis, a strange, ancient idol covered in what looked like bull testicles, a symbol of fertility, was destroyed. The Ephesians passed a law: anyone who spoke Herostratus's name would be put to death. They wanted to erase him from history. But history, like the human ego, is a stubborn thing. We remember Herostratus. We remember his name. And the temple. It was rebuilt, more glorious than before, only to be torn down by the Goths, then by Christians, and finally, its stones were scattered. A single, lonely column stands in a Turkish field today, a silent finger pointing to the sky, marking the spot where a goddess once lived. And finally, the lighthouse. The Lighthouse of Alexandria. The last wonder built, the last one standing. A beacon of the Hellenistic world. Alexandria was the city of knowledge, the city of the library, the city of the Pharos. Sostratus of Cnidus, the architect, built it on the island of Pharos, a causeway connecting it to the mainland, creating the city's famous double harbor. It was a skyscraper of white stone, 3 tiers, a square base, an octagonal middle, a cylindrical top. At its peak, a mirror of polished bronze reflected the sun by day and a fire by night, visible for over 30 miles. It was a practical wonder. It saved lives. It guided the ships that carried the wealth and wisdom of the ancient world into port. It was a symbol of Alexandria's claim as the center of the world. It stood for nearly 1,000 years. Earthquakes eventually weakened it, and it fell into ruin. In the 15th century, a Mamluk sultan used its stones to build a fort that still stands today. You can visit that fort, in modern Alexandria, and look out at the sea. If you dive into the harbor, you can see the fallen blocks of the lighthouse, lying on the seabed, where they've rested for over a millennium. Silted over. Forgotten. 7 wonders. 7 triumphs. 7 ruins. 1 remains, slowly shedding its casing stones. The others live only in descriptions, in fragments, in the fevered imaginations of poets. We build to be remembered. We build to touch the sky. We build to say, I was here. And the gods, in their infinite patience, simply wait. Because time, not war, not fire, is the ultimate conqueror. Philo of Byzantium, the man who made the list, would be devastated to see them now. Or perhaps he'd be delighted. Because a wonder isn't just something you see. It's something you carry with you. A story. An echo. A reminder that the greatest human achievements are not the ones that last forever, but the ones daring enough to try. So go. See the pyramids. Stand before the single column at Ephesus. Dive the harbor at Alexandria. And when you do, listen closely. The wind will carry the echoes. The whispers of kings, of lovers, of madmen, and of gods who once, for a moment, touched the earth.